Hey everybody, thanks for joining me. Today I'd like to take a look at another stack of Canadian metal releases that I picked up. And we're going to start off with a brand new one, that being Liminal Shrines, the second and most recent full-length album by Toronto-based death metal band Gut Void. Newly signed to Profound Lore Records. I think it's a perfect match for them. And this one is definitely a little bit different. Less doomy and just more, I guess, experimental, but more than that, like nuanced and detailed. Just a lot more going on here than on previous material. This is a single, I don't know what color that is, but there were two color variants that were available. I got that one. And I own the two full-length albums and the two EPs, and I still like the debut full-length the best. However, this is a totally awesome album. You start off with a 2-3 minute intro, Ruinous Gateways, which actually brought to mind, the guitar on there was definitely bringing to mind Seasons in the Abyss by Slayer. But the next two songs here, Spell Reliquary of Smothering Sea, kind of highlights the more experimental direction they're going in. But my personal favorite song is probably the fourth track, Umbriel's Door, which is a little bit more back to basics. I've been meaning to catch this band live for a long time. And I think they played 2 or 3 shows in Toronto over the last 6 months, and I was not able to get there. A number of years ago, they played a local show because 2 of the guys in the band grew up around this neck of the woods. But that hasn't happened for this new tour cycle, and I kind of hope they play a local show sometime. And actually, speaking of that, they played The Spot that day 3 years ago. And I started going there, once every month, once every 2 months. And I've caught some pretty cool bands there. The ones that stick out to me, there's a band called Gutter Girl, which was kind of like a power violence grindcore thing with some sludgy parts. Band called Apple of Basilic, which is kind of a hardcore meets black metal. There's a band called Peaceborn, kind of more of a crusty, heavy punk thing. So lots of cool stuff going on there. I plan to go to many more shows around there. So that's it for Gut Void, Liminal Shrines, but I should also mention that on their next full-length album, it's going to be a continuation of the concept here, which I haven't really delved too much into, but kind of a Lovecraftian horror thing is my impression. Staying in Toronto, we have the long-defunct Toronto band Horde of Worms and their second full-length album from 1999, Dreams and Dying Eyes. This was on, what was it called? Blood Bucket Productions, who released quite a bit of material back in the day. And that's actually what prompted my purchase of this album. It was either the guy behind Blood Bucket or a member of Horde of Worms. Could have been the same guy having both positions. But he was on the Bunsen Burner Recordings podcast. I listened to every episode of that podcast. And just brought me back to the 90s. Like, wow, Horde of Worms, I remember them. And then I went on eBay and found myself a copy. So I definitely recall them from the 90s. I was a teenager. But you'd find them in the pages of the Canadian metal magazines, in the Canadian focus columns. And actually, I do recall some kind of disparaging comments about the vocals, kind of making the Donald Duck jokes. And although those vocals are present here, let's face it, that criticism can be leveled at many black metal bands out there. And musically, this is very cut and dried black death grind. It's nothing even approaching war metal. It's like a grindcore album, but you'll catch death metal riffs here and black metal riffs there. Don't really have a favorite song on here. It kind of goes by in a blur. You have a short intro, a short outro, 9 short songs in between, and there is your 23-minute full-length album. So after about 10 spins in the car with this, probably gonna put it to the side for a while, but thrilled to have it in my collection. Okay, what do we have next? Something very different here. This is First Fragment and their second full-length album, Gloire Eterna. So I guess that's French for eternal glory or something like that. I do live in Canada, but haven't learned a word of French since I was probably 13 years old. So this is a technical death metal band out of Quebec. And this is their second full-length album from 2021. Technical death metal has never been my thing, and indeed, this album was released on Unique Leader, one of the main touch points of a genre, and that is the first Unique Leader album that I've ever purchased. And I think part of what I like about it is that it's just kind of got like a different thing going on. Even though I can't understand the lyrics, I feel like it's not like gore or science fiction. Just something a little bit more fantastical. I love that artwork there. And again, I've said before, like, the riffs in tech death, it's like, they're not death metal riffs, but what do you call this music? I mean, I guess you gotta call it death metal. The vocals are straight death metal vocals, which I kind of respect when these kind of bands do that, because it's keeping it firmly grounded in extreme metal and somewhat limiting commercial success. But I'm not sure how much kind of run-of-the-mill death metal vocals add to this kind of music, and I think it might be better being instrumental. And along the same lines, I much prefer watching the playthroughs on YouTube than I do listening to the album itself. But definitely be awesome to catch them live too and watch them perform this virtuoso material. Favorite tracks are Pantheon, the title track, and then the epic 19-minute Inel, which I think is most people's favorite song on here. I said there's some unique stuff going on here. First track right away, you have extended like flamenco part, which even when they kind of slam back into the metal, they still have that like flamenco feeling in the music. I guess you could say it's a little gimmicky, something that's going to impress a first-time listener, but it's so well done. I gotta just kind of sign up and go for the ride. I bought this mostly after being encouraged several times by the guy at my local record store to give it a chance, so I finally did it. And again, not my thing, but a quality release and one of my favorite releases of this particular genre. Phil Tugis is one of the two guitar players here. He is one of the guys in metal right now that's been really praised for his instrumental prowess, but has also been extremely involved in the metal scene, both in Canada and elsewhere. As most recently, I saw that he has become a member of Worm, that pretty popular black metal band. And the bass player Forrest, I've heard some people consider him to be the best bass player in metal right now. Entire band, incredibly talented. First Fragment. And this comes on a double, it's kind of a rusty red, gold swirl here. Finally, we're going to talk some more Indian Handcrafts, who have been a mainstay of my last couple Canadian-centric videos. And this is a rock band from Barrie, and their second full-length album from 2012, released on Sargent House. This is Civil Disobedience for Losers. And I originally bought this album around its release digitally in 2012 after seeing them live open for Russian Circles, and having a great time, and got a little bit of a story surrounding that show if you check out that old video. And this is a little bit different, a little bit more stoner rock. You got some, I thought kind of Rage Against the Machine style riffs thrown in here, a band I'm not into, but it works here. The band would go on to become a little bit more metal. So again, this is more rock and roll. But yeah, like the High on Fire, Melvins, Mastodon, that would come a little bit later. Caught them live just about a month ago at the Prepare the Ground Fest. I thought they were awesome. They played Bruce Lee, which is the opening song on here, and probably my favorite song from this particular album. And I actually saw the frontman in line to catch Oranssi Pazuzu the next day at the same fest. But I want to catch them again this summer because they do play local gigs, and I live not too far from where these guys do. And I also want to catch a copy of the debut self-titled album. I'm finding that kind of hard to track down, but hope to get it soon. Check out some Indian handcrafts, and I will see you next time. Thanks.